we're covering Office 365. There's a ton of stuff in here, and unfortunately we're limited to 60 minutes today. So if you've got questions, please write them down as you go. I got a section at the end. We'll cover your questions. We've got a lot of different stuff we want to cover. So first off, like I said, we got 60 minutes. I should give you that. Sorry. No, someone wanted to sell me something. Isn't it always? So if you want to take a deep dive into all the different features that 365 has to offer, you can go to support.office.com, and they've got a whole Office training center. Also, we're going to be making this PowerPoint available for you all later for download. So Greg will have that uploaded. I think you're videotaping me and recording and things, so he'll have all that edited and put together for you. First thing we're going to cover is we're going to take a look at how to log in and set up your password recovery. Then we're going to drop out of the PowerPoint for a little while. I try not to do death by PowerPoint, but sometimes it can't be avoided. So the fun part, we're going to jump into the middle Office 365. I'm going to give you kind of a high-level overview of all the different things that are in there, so that it's not unfamiliar to you when you get in and play. And I do really encourage you to do that. Get in, play, poke around, try the different apps. One thing that's really cool about 365 is because it's cloud-based, Microsoft will come out with a new app and say, okay, it's ready for prime time, and they'll release it, and it's available to you. You don't have to wait for Greg and his busy schedule. He and his team is like, oh, I've got to get time to install that new app. You'll just go in one morning and it'll be there. And you're like, oh, I wonder what that does. And you click on it. That's what I do. So then we're going to take a look at, we said we got Outlook set up for your iPhones and Androids. We're going to take a look at data loss and safe protection, multi-factor authentication, and then as I said, we're going to go ahead and we'll have an opportunity for questions at the end. Any questions before I move forward? All right. So first thing you want to do is you're going to, when you first go into 365, you're going to have to log into it, and then you'll go ahead and you'll set up your password recovery. So this is something you guys should write down. If you write nothing else down, you can figure everything out from this. Write down that URL. And you can go to Google and just go portal.office.com. That will get you to the login screen for 365. So you just put portal.office.com in Google, and it'll take you there. When you first go in, it's going to want you to enter your email, and the email structure you guys have is first name, initial, last name at sherman.edu. And I'm guessing that's already, you guys already have that email address anyway? Okay. And then you'll see that this screen, and then as soon as you do that, you'll see that it pops over, and like this is kind of the generic Microsoft login, and then Sherman's customized the login. Once they know it's a Sherman account, it'll go ahead and customize, so then you'll know you're on the right track. Enter in your password, and click sign in. From there, you need to go ahead and complete your login, and then set up your password reset information. It's going to actually prompt you to set up a cell phone and an email recovery. It says phone. I've seen people use their home phone. You're not going to get a text message on your home phone. So when you go in, you'll have a little red exclamation point there on the places that haven't been set up. So you'll want to go through and set those up. If you look right to the right, it says set it up now. So you can click on it. The first one you do will go ahead and set up your cell phone. It's going to default to United States. If for some reason your cell phone is elsewhere, select that country code, and then your cell phone with the area code. It will text your cell phone a code, a little 6-digit code. I think it's 6. Yep, 6-digit code. Get that. Go ahead and enter it in here, and then click verify. When you do that, it'll go back out. It says, yep, that's really your device. Everything's great. And once you click that verify, you'll see that it says, okay, it's good, and you've got a green check there. Then you go to the next checkbox, and you want to go ahead and set up your email. Same thing here. Don't use your Sherman.edu email here, guys, because if you're trying to reset your password, that's not going to work for you. So whatever your personal one is, Gmail, whatever, go ahead and use that. Same thing, they're going to email you a code, put that 6-digit code in. And then when you're done, you'll have both of these. If you've got a green checkbox that says, yep, everything's good and golden, kind of review it here, make sure things look good, and then hit finish. A little quirky, for whatever reason, it takes you back and says there's additional info required. Just go ahead and hit next, and then it'll just say, yep, the checkboxes, everything's saved, everything's good, and then you click the looks good button. So once it looks good, your password recovery options have been set up. Before I go on to the next topic, any questions on this?
Yes. If you're foolish enough to put a real phone number, how do you change it to yourself?
You can, once you get logged into Office 365, you can go back in under your profile and change these settings. Yeah, so if you get a new cell phone, you can change that. So. Okay, I'm going to drop out of the PowerPoint for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and jump over into the actual Office 365. Have any of you actually been able to get in and look at 365? Some of you have? Okay, very good. I'm going to sit down for this moment.
I did that part just fine, but getting it on my phone, it wanted the name, something else. Like following the instructions on the attachment that you sent, trying to fill edit and didn't have instructions for the name.
I'm sorry. Oh, you got that? Okay. Tell you what, bear with me if you would, because there's no way in the world I'm going to be able to go back and forth. I'm going to just change the screen setting real quick. Really is doing something. There we go. Y'all see that? Okay. So y'all see that okay now? All right. So when you first log in, you're going to be presented with this screen. Your apps may change and be different. Like, for example, our account, we have an admin level account. So we've got the admin icon. Pretty sure you didn't give all these guys admin equivalency? Okay, all right. Give them a week for a few things in there you may or may not have based on what applications the college decides to roll out. So real quick, just some things I want you guys to get familiar with. Over here where it says A, that actually, if I mouse over top of that, that's my username, ANC0365, something really identifiable. You can actually go in here and customize your profile. So if you go in here and click on it, all right. So you go. You see my profile, my account, and sign out. So something you may want to do, again, you don't have to do this, but it's some things you can do, is you can go into your profile, and if you wanted, you can go ahead and upload a picture of yourself. Ooh, this is laggy. Someone already do it? Awesome. All right. Okay. Let's try again. All right, so you go in here, you can, so it was prompting me to set the kind of time zone. So for your time zone, select English. Your time zone is going to be Eastern. You'll see it's down. That's Easter Island, yeah. There it is. There it is. Okay. Awesome. Okay. I'll try one more time to get to the profile, see if it'll let me. Okay. So in here, you can go in and see different things. So if you want to change your cover photo, up here on the right, you can go ahead and click on that and upload a photo. There's some other sections too where you can enter in a little info about yourself. I like putting the photo in there because when you start using Skype and some of the other tools that we'll show you, it's handy. People can see who it is they're talking to. So let's go back to the main menu. Like I said, you're going to see all the different applications that Office 365 is serving up to you. So I imagine all of you know how to use email. You got the. Spend a whole lot of time on that one. You can, if you don't want to use an Outlook client, you can just use the browser. You can do everything in Outlook online as you can with the full-blown Outlook client on your device. That's totally up to you. Obviously, the upside is you've got the client there. It can do notifications. You don't have to be logged into a browser. But it's email. You send and you receive email. The next application is OneDrive. So from OneDrive, think of OneDrive as cloud storage for you. Does anybody use Dropbox? Okay, so you've got, is it a terabyte, Greg? Yeah, so you guys have a terabyte of storage. That is a ton of storage. So you can upload your documents up here, obviously your schoolwork, whatever you want to store up here, as long as you're staying within the agreed policies of the school. I don't know, are you guys even limiting what they can do? Can they put personal stuff up here? Does it matter?
We'll get to that.
Good. Very good. So yeah, so as long as you're staying within the policies. Other applications, you've got Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Everybody familiar with those three apps? Does anybody not know what they do? You don't know them? Oh, there's one in every crowd. Okay. OneNote is fun. Does anybody use OneNote? You do. A few people do.
I used to, but now I use Evernote on Apple.
Gotcha. So I used to live and die by my yellow legal pads. I had yellow legal pads by my bed, anywhere in my office, because I would grab and I would write something down and get an idea. I'm ADHD. If that hasn't come across yet, it will eventually. So it's like I've just constantly got stuff going on in my head. And the worst is, middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, and I've just found if I don't get it out of my head and written down somewhere, I'm never getting back to sleep. So I no kidding, I have yellow legal pads right by the nightstand. And then OneNote came out, and of course, I couldn't never remember which yellow pad I wrote it in. And, and that pad was still on my nightstand, not at work when I was ready to do something with it. So what OneNote is, it is a notebook, but it's like a notebook file cabinet all in one. So you go in there, you can take notes, you can make groups, you can make groups within groups, you can embed different documents within it. You can actually share, so if you wanted to make a notebook specific to one class that you're taking, and maybe you and 3 other students are working on something, you can share that notebook between the 4 of you. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. And it's accessible from anywhere because it's on the cloud. So OneNote's definitely one of those. It's a great place to store your stuff. Kind of its add-on product, something that Microsoft came out with about 2 years ago. If you look a little farther to the right, you'll see class notebook. I don't know if your teachers are going to be using this at this point, but that's actually, you can do stuff in there where the teacher can put assignments and then they can store documents in there. Obviously, the college is just converting over to 365, so my guess is they haven't jumped into that level yet. But that's something that's certainly available down the road for you guys. Yes, ma'am.
If you create it and share it with the group, can the group also edit the stuff?
So you can control. So one of the cool things about Office 365, I'll nerd out on you for a couple of minutes here. So Office 365 is built on a technology called SharePoint. So 15 years ago, Microsoft came up with SharePoint, and SharePoint is a document management system. So it's okay, I've got this document, and it's our policy and procedure manual. So I want to be able to edit it, and you can edit it, but you need to be able to read it, and everybody else just needs to be able to read it. So we actually, with SharePoint, you can control who has what rights, and it's like a library too, so you can check a document out, you can check it back in. Well, they've extended that to Office 365, so when you go to share a document, you could say, okay, you and you will have file edit rights, and then you're going to share with the rest of the class and just give them read only. So, and you can revoke those rights at any time. So if you go, you know what, they don't need this anymore, I'll go ahead and pull those rights away. Or, we had somebody who was helping me edit that document, they graduated or whatever, let's pull them out of the mix. So yeah, so you have complete control over who has access to your documents. Okay, so any questions about OneNote or kind of how SharePoint works? Okay, the SharePoint piece, are you giving them just kind of the generic full-blown SharePoint access? They can set up their personal. Okay, so SharePoint. Let me hop over there. How many of you have ever built a web page? Not a few people. How long did it take? Yeah. Okay. So in here, I can actually go in and create my own website and then share it with a group of people. So not only can I share documents, but maybe I want to put a blog up there. Maybe I want a group calendar. The school doesn't want to be responsible for maintaining everybody's personal websites and calendars and all that. But you can go ahead and create your own. So you first land here, it'll say, here's your internet in your pocket. You can go here and site. And so it'll ask you, what's the purpose of the site? Is it a team site where you guys are going to work together and you're going to collaborate? Or is it a communication site where, look, we're trying to post this out here. We want lots of pretty charts and graphs and PDFs. So you want to go ahead, just kind of decide what's the rough use for it. I'm going to do a team site here. We'll give it a fancy name like Class 1. And you can put a description in here. So you can make it a private site, or you can open it up so anyone at Sherman could access it. I recommend you do private. So click next. If there's any additional owners, so if I wanted to go ahead and add Greg in here, why aren't you showing up? What's that? Oh, you're hidden. What's your name? Yep. S-H-E-R-Y? Who's in here? What's it?
Last name is Burns. I think
Burns?
he's going to search by last name.
Burns Katie?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm adding Katie as an owner to that. And then who wants to be a member? Who's someone else that's in there? What is it?
Tarsha. T-A-R-S.
It's probably on the
Hamilton.
Hamilton? Yep. All right. So click finish. And now I have a website. Guarantee it was faster than the one you built. So now that you're in here with SharePoint, you can start doing stuff. You can put a news feed in here. There's all sorts of different things that you can add to it. So if you want to go ahead, so there's obviously a quick link here, like what can a team site do? How do I add an additional page? It's got a lot of stuff pre-built for you, so if you want specific documents in here, you can drag and drop documents in here. You can upload existing documents that you've already got. You can even create a new document, a new blank document. So if I wanted to create a Word document, it'll actually go ahead and create it here. We'll just call it class document. And see up here where it says saving? It's a little slow. Oh, it did create it. Awesome. Okay, so there it is. So you just hit backspace and it's there, and now people have access to it. So you've got on the left-hand side is kind of your navigation for the site. So if you had conversation threads or a blog, you could go in there. I don't want to see them that go away.
Can people outside of Sherman access this site, or is it just internally?
If you, unless you give them access, now there are admin equivalency accounts. You have to have, someone has to be admin. So the IT has admin accounts. But I always tell this to everybody when we're setting up this stuff. It's like no one in IT has any free time to do anything, much less go in and cruise around your sites. So I'm assuming you guys are in the same boat. Yeah.
That's not true. They love that.
So, yeah. So I encourage you, if this is something you think you either just want to try and get to know or play with a little bit, but it's a great opportunity, especially if you guys are working in cohorts, however, where you've got groups of people that are working on stuff. You can spin these up and tear them down just on the fly. Okay, so let's go back to our menu. Any questions on SharePoint? So if you go to the main menu, any time you're in Office 365, with the exception of Mail, I hate this, but with the exception of Outlook, you kind of lose that little pop-up window. But on the left here, you see those little 9 squares? So I can click on that, and that'll give me a drop-down of the applications that are available to me. You'll also see recent documents that I've opened, so you can jump to those real quick. Or if you want to get to this screen right here, where it's kind of your generic landing page, just click on the words Office 365 and it'll take you right there.
So let's say you're part of something collaborative in one of the
Mhm.
apps, and someone adds you or adds something to the page, a notification would show up on.
You'll get an email. You'll get an email. Hey, you've been added to this page. You've been invited to this page. So then you can click on it, and then so if we go back into SharePoint, by default, SharePoint isn't going to take me straight into a particular page because SharePoint, again, it can do multiple pages. So what you'll see, you can actually start following a class. Now I created that class, so by default I'm following it. So, but if for those folks that I invited, you were invited to it, you've got to tell it you want to follow that class. So, yep, I'm interested in that one. Go ahead and follow it. And to do that, all you have to do is click the little star. So if you're in the site, like in this case, mine says following, but you could actually just go in there and it'll say follow. You click it and it'll say now you're following it. So that site becomes quick access for you.
So if they provide an update and you're following it, it'll let you know
Yeah.
that something's happening in that group.
Depends how that's up to them and how they want to notify. Sometimes people just upload documents, and once you really start using sites, to be honest, you just don't want to get all the notifications because it's never ending. People are always doing stuff in it. But you will always have access to the latest version of the document. So if something's changed, you can go in there. Now, they could put a little notice out, hey, everybody, I just updated the group calendar. Come take a look. So they can kind of do a shout out to the people in the group. That's different than just having it automatically do it, if that makes sense. Okay, any questions on SharePoint? Okay. Just want to show you a couple other things. Two applications that I really have never used just because I haven't needed it. Sway. So Sway is, if you want to build a multimedia presentation and display it or project it from your phone or something like that, Sway is great for that. We do a lot of work with K-12 schools. Kids are constantly using Sway because it's PowerPoint. It's a Word document. They'll throw an Excel sheet in there, and then they'll throw some videos in there. So any sort of multimedia, different feeds you want to include, Sway kind of pulls it all together, packages it as kind of a pre-done, self-running presentation. It's a really powerful tool. I've never used it. But I've seen some really cool stuff in it. I have seen some really cool stuff in it. And Forms, so Forms is just what it sounds like. If you want to embed forms into your document, or maybe on your website you want to put up a survey, so you can go ahead and pre-populate those things on there. Again, like I said, you'll notice it. When Microsoft releases a new application, you're absolutely going to go, oh, what's that green icon? Let's click on that and see what it does. So when you log in, before you just jump right into your email or whatever, take a couple seconds, see what else they're offering up to you, and go play. All right, anything else in terms of looking at the live system, and then I'm going to jump back into Death by PowerPoint. Yes, ma'am.
The forms, is that basically just like Google Forms? Like, I know that it's in there, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. Like, how can you, is it easy to set up? Like,
it's pretty straightforward. And all of these things, that link that I gave you at the beginning, there's tutorials on all these products. Forms and Sways my job's just different. I don't really use either of those tools that much, but I know a ton of people who use them all the time. And Google and Google Suite and Office 365 are they got a lot of very similar products. My guess is if you're using Forms on Google, it's going to be very similar to this. Any other questions? All right. Let me minimize this and switch our display back over. You guys are a very patient audience. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we covered the profile, email, file storage, the Office applications, collaboration, and presentations. Can't stress it enough. Just get in, start playing with stuff. The worst thing you do is you make a document that looks silly and you just delete it. So we're going to get into now the Outlook setup for your mobile devices. Greg, do you want me to go through these slides, or did you want to come up here, or did you want? Do you want to come up? Okay. I can do a quick run through here. And what I did is I took the documents you guys gave us and I put them on the slides. So
Okay.
Yeah. But I think you've already emailed those docs out to folks too.
Oh, yeah. A couple of things just to give you guys a little bit of perspective on this too. 1 terabyte of storage. Does everybody know how much that is? Every single departmental drive and all the data in it, plus every single project drive that we have on this entire campus is a little under 2 terabytes. So basically all the data that runs this institution is 2. Now every one of you has 1. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. If you're thinking, oh, well, I need to upload a video that's 30 minutes long, you can do that now. I just want to make sure we're all kind of aware of how much this gives you there. One quick thing, too, on the forms are extremely simple. This is not going to replace Wufoo. This is not going to replace application forms or anything that is as robust as a Hobson's application, anything like that. I'm afraid it's really great for something like a survey or something like a quick 5 questions of this, and this. Anything beyond that, it has branching logic like what you use in Wufoo, but it is crazy simple. If this happens, show the next thing or skip to the 7th thing. That's it. So it can be very, very friendly like Google Forms, but it's also fairly simple in how far you can take it. And the last thing is, before I go through this, I actually want to show you guys a couple of things, and I'll probably email you this stuff. Where is the here? Because again, we are extremely excited about this, but we also know that change, as with the iPads, whenever that came along, can be somewhat intimidating, uncomfortable, whatever word you want to give it to say, I don't want to do this. But for everybody, and this also we feel like is a really big compliment to the iPads, because this doesn't supplant or put you in a position where you need to use a PC for certain things, because you can now have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. You can use the same program for using and seeing your stuff on any device. That's one of the things that Greg's always says. Anywhere, anytime, any device. That's the goal. But the truth is, we all know iPads is part of that goal. So say, for instance, you're working on a document like I was working on over the weekend, and you need to bring it up for a meeting in 5 seconds. So you're working on at home on your PC in Microsoft Word. What you can do is hit Documents, and you can bring that document up and be looking at it in 5 seconds. This gives you anywhere, anytime, any device access to any data that you put on OneDrive. So please keep that in mind. Same thing with Excel, same thing with PowerPoint. Like he was talking about with OneNote, it's a pretty amazing product. I, in the back, just for the fun of it, installed OneNote on my phone and brought up notes I made from a campus management meeting from 2 months ago. Had them, looking at them just like that. So from a teaching standpoint and from a staff standpoint, I feel like it can be extremely useful for everyone.
OneDrive different from our My Document?
Yes, absolutely. OneDrive is something that is, think of it as its own housing. Think of it as separate as what he said. Think of it as a Dropbox.
Okay.
But it is a Dropbox that is just yours, that is tied and created in the instant that you create your account, and that anything you put on it, any app that you open on your phone or on your iPad, immediately knows who you are because you're signed in as the same person. So you don't have to tell it all of this stuff. When I signed into to OneNote, it didn't ask me for anything. I'd already signed in. It knew who I was. It knew what OneDrive I was using. And it knew where the OneNote stuff was. So it's kind of automated in that way.
So we would copy like some of the stuff that's on your H drive. Whatever you wanted on one note.
Well, I feel like it's something where I think I really would defer to Greg on this as far as how far we would recommend taking that.
Okay.
Me personally, right now, as we're getting to know this, I would say start small. I would say if it's a document that you're working on that no one else has to be able to look at any changes that you've made. So like for me, it's notes about the server room over the weekend. No one needs to see that. I emailed an update to Patrick and Greg. No big deal. I wouldn't want to take something from a projects drive that Greg may need to look at or that Todd may need to see, and then they're looking at an outdated document, and then I overwrite it, and we're having a disjointed conversation about the data. So for me, I feel like, for me personally, it is only the personal stuff from a business standpoint. I will say, too, as far as the personal information, keep in mind, just like your email, in the event that you separate from the institution, even though I know that's, something I don't really like to talk about, you don't want to have it stored there any more than you want to have a bunch of checking account information on your desktop. To me, I would be careful with that. Personal stuff, for me personally, I have a personal email for a reason. I have a personal computer for a reason. I would be careful with the personal stuff on the OneDrive account, especially if it's specific to you having to come back and say, hang on, who can access this? I'll tell you who will be. It'll be me. In that separation event, because we have to make sure that that stuff is taken off before that account is shut down. So I definitely don't want to be seeing anything that I shouldn't be for all of you. Okay?
Okay. Sorry. One other thing about OneDrive, and so just like with SharePoint, like I said, you can share documents and stuff out. You can actually share documents from within your OneDrive. Don't. If you want to share it, build a site, because we had an instance where we actually had a principal of a school share their entire OneDrive with the entire district. His tax returns were in there. It was bad. So rule of thumb, OneDrive, just keep that your stuff. If you need to share, build a team site and put it there.
And I would, just to add to that, there's a reason we spend a lot of our time trying to make sure that the access to things are only given to the correct people. When you put it on OneDrive, it kind of takes us out of the mix. It eliminates our ability to own the security of the data of the institution. So, just like he said, just please be careful with that. I think if it's departmental, if it's privileged, keep it in the area where it belongs, but this gives you a lot more freedom as far as your personal business stuff. Yes?
So as far as, are these documents logged? If we were working on an Excel, it would be a logged document, like Google. So what if there were a document that our department shares, and because right now someone walks away and no one else can get in there and update the information. Is that something that we would be able to use?
I have not actually.
Are you saying would it be locked for editing if someone already has it open? Is that right? Yeah, it will be. So
it's not like Google.
Well, no, here's the thing. If you're using the web browser to edit it, multiple people can edit it at one time. But you have the option of, like, when you're editing, say, a Word document, you can click Open in Word. That opens it in the local copy, and when you do that, it locks it for editing. So if you want to collaborate, it's just like Google. You can have 10 people in there working on it.
Do it web-based, because that's the one thing that like Google, you don't have anything housed locally.
Right.
It's all web-based. As long as you treat that in the same way, then you can have the ability to do so. Yes. It's actually not that bad. It's one screenshot, and you'll go, okay, that makes perfect sense. So anyway, I feel like I'm, as usual, talking way too much. Patty?
I have some work studies that have access to different portions of our share drive. Would that be better done on one of these SharePoints?
Depending on the data. If it was something where you and your team agreed that the data really didn't present any kind of risk as far as being given out in that manner, and
Well,
there
they
was.
have access to the data anyway.
Oh no, I'm just saying, the thing is, and where I really get concerned about sharing data is, the way that we limit it here is you have to be here, or you have to log in remotely, and then you have to be really deliberate to mismanage that data. And nothing against work studies and nothing against students, but I trust the faculty and staff here exponentially more than people that I don't know. So when you say work studies, it's just these random young kids in the back of my mind. To me, to give them access to that data in a web-based format is where I immediately say, if they publish this on their Facebook, would it be a problem? If the answer is yes, then we don't need to do it through SharePoint, in my opinion. One of the best advice I ever got is every conversation picture it in an email, every argument picture it in a courtroom. And if you live that way, you can be careful. To me, if you're looking at this data, picture it being published on Facebook by a disgruntled student. And if you could go, well, who cares? It doesn't matter. That's their problem. We're going to pursue, But if it's something that would compromise the integrity of the institution, I would say things don't. Okay, and I've kind of hijacked this, so.
You're good.
Yeah. So, as far as email, there is a small, what I would say, challenge with whenever you all get swapped over. And that is you need to delete your email account and then re-add it. And there's documentation on this, but I kind of wanted to show everybody how easy this can be. So, everybody, and I'm going to be doing it on iPhone because that's what I have. If anybody has any challenges with iPads, iPhones, Android, of course, we're available to help you out with this. But what you want to do is you go into General, you go into Settings, and then for me, I go into Accounts and Passwords, and you see the Exchange account there. That's who, for those that don't know, we have an Exchange server. That's what this is through. And you want to double check and see what you have. 98% of the people on campus, all of these are slid to the right. In case you don't, in case you were someone who was very specific and picky about how your programs were set up, as some of us can be, make sure, and yes, I'm looking at you, Patty, make sure that these are that you know what these are before you delete the account, okay? Go to delete the account, delete it from iPhone, and then add it right back. Make sure you pick Exchange. You put in your information, which is not Jeetson. And you want to sign in. We're not doing anything manual. And a good thing about this is keep this in mind. Everything it's cloud-based. So whenever you go to sign in, this is already set up for you. You've already done everything that this gentleman has asked you to do. You're signed in. You've got the two-factor authentication in place. You're just signing into a program that you have access to. Work or school account, of course. And then you put in your password. Please don't pay attention to this. I have to change this when I go back to my office. And then you're good. And again, this is where you want to make sure if you had something unchecked, you uncheck it now. You hit save. The account is added. Now, the one thing I want to say before I hand it back over here is, and I'm going to continue to push everyone here through emails and documentation, and I know Greg very much wants this as well. We are an iPad-based institution. This is going to give you all the ability to have the same programs that you used on PCs access on your iPads, your iPhones, your Androids, your laptops at home, your PCs at home. If anybody doesn't have Office because it's expensive, you now can have it once you get this in place on 5 devices, which means you can use Outlook for your email no matter where you are, no matter what device you're using. You don't have to use 3 and 4 different things. You can use Excel, you can use Word, you can use PowerPoint. You don't have to use all of the different things, and it gives you the ability to use it whenever and wherever you want to.
But it has to be a mobile device, right?
No, laptop at home, desktop at home, 5 devices. Yeah. Yeah, so you can have it, I literally have it installed on my wife's Mac, my computer, my work computer here, and my phone. You can put it on lots of devices. I'm sorry, one second. You had your hand raised?
Yes, I did. So do I need to, because I have it on my MacBook at home, do I need to go through and delete that account on my MacBook as well and reset it?
In my experience, I have gone from the standpoint of just wipe it and put it back in place. And the reason I do that is because, for one, it ensures that it's a fresh start for the device. Okay. 2, it gives you you don't lose anything. So there's really no downside to it. For me, I know on my Mac I did. Just to make sure that I'm signed in with my work account, that it recognizes everything as it should. So I would definitely do that if it's a Mac-based environment, because they are very similar between the iPads, the iPhones, and the Macs. And
is this something that you want us to wait until all of our emails have migrated over, or is it something that we need to do now?
I would defer to Greg. Do we want to wait until the migration is complete before they start doing any of this? I mean, I would recommend waiting, but.
Yeah, you might be messing around.
4 people in here are already doing
Oh, no, I'm not playing with everything, I'm just.
The pilot users are gone, there's about 80 or so of the final group faculty staff that will go this weekend. You actually only need to mess with the iPhone native mail if you're getting an incorrect password. So if y'all see that incorrect password, the time frame is from 8 p.m. Friday to 8 p.m. Saturday is the window you're going to be moving the mailboxes. So if you're getting that incorrect password at 8 p.m. on Saturday, give it a little bit more time, and then hopefully you don't have to do anything. But then, Saturday night you was impatient, or Sunday morning you want to do it, you walk through those, that attachment I sent on the items.
And also, I mean, for anybody who doesn't check their email over the weekend, you can always just look at it whenever you want. I don't want people to feel like they're obligated to be looking. If you're like me and you obsess about it, you may have to do it. Real quick, the Outlook, once you add the Outlook app, it's even more simple. You literally just put in your email address. Hit add account. And make you put in your password, and then you're done. So, it's fairly easy. We knew this was probably going to be the one thing that would hang people up, is the email on your phone. The rest of it, kind of on mobile devices, goes more to convenience. But, like I said, I cannot overstate how useful this can be. You want to be able to be working on a document on your laptop and literally 10 minutes later be standing in someone's office reviewing it. This gives you the ability to do that. So please make sure that you at least give it a once over. And does anybody have any questions on email further than that?
You said Outlook app? Is that the mail app, or do you have
sorry.
to install Outlook?
It's if you go into the App Store, you can look for Outlook. I've always liked Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, and you can download.
I've got the slides for you.
Can you still use the mail?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you can download. You can have a preference on Dr. Theodosis. Said, you know what? I got my mail. I like my mail. Absolutely, it's a preference. It's a preference. Like I said, I'm not telling anyone that you should or should not, or have not do anything like that. I just want you to take a moment to look at it. For me personally, it makes my life way more simple. No matter what Outlook I'm using, it looks the same. I use Word, it looks the same. I'm not having to try to bounce from one thing to another. So it makes it a lot easier for me.
If I get the Outlook app, my mail is still the same, though, through the mail app.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They
They
don't
affect
have a
each other.
separate app.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that might be really pushing through that.
And one thing, too, from that standpoint, if you have email, one thing I do on my phone real quick is I have Outlook for my business email, and I have notifications set up for them. My personal email gets all kinds of spam and all kinds of stuff. I don't want to hear a ding every time I get an email. So I do my personal email on the built-in mail app, and I do my business email on the Outlook mail app. And then I turn off all the notifications for my personal email. And so if my phone vibrates, I know it's something business related, and I look at it. Before I did that, it would vibrate 1,000 times a day. I never knew if it was something important from someone here or someone trying to tell me to buy a car. So separating those can be useful as well.
I already have the Outlook app on my phone. Will this migration affect that app, or will it just update on phone? That's what I thought. That's what I
So real quick, I want to go through a couple of changes you're going to see with mail, some things that are going to come in the future, and then some known issues that we're having with the migration. So some big changes with the way mail is going to be delivered is the Barracuda stuff is going to be going away. It won't go away until July 20th when we move the students over and we make the final cut. So replacing that, you're going to have the Microsoft Advanced Threat Protection product. One of the things in there is safe attachments. So whenever any email you get that has an attachment is going to come through. When it first comes through, for the first 90 seconds, you're going to see something that says ATP scan in progress right here where the attachment is. So just, you're gonna have to give it a little bit of time, give it 90 seconds, and then the actual attachment will come down to your device. What that's doing in that 90 seconds is it's taking that attachment, taking it into a Microsoft virtual environment where they have XP, Windows 10, Windows 7, all the different applications, all the iterations of patches and everything that they can have on their products. And they take it and put it in that environment, they open it up, and they see if anything bad happens. So then, after they determine nothing bad is in that document, they deliver it to you. The next thing we have is...
I think you did them backwards.
All right, so the next thing we have is safe links. And so when you get links in your email now, right now they're going to look like this big, long string of numbers and letters. They're actually working on trying to move that to those short URLs that you see. But again, same thing, same concept is it's rewriting the URL that's sent to you in order to protect you. So if that URL is actually sending you out to a site that is going to have you download some malware or something, it's gonna redirect you to a page that says you're blocked from going there. The great thing about this is obviously it works off campus too. So right now, Barracuda will only protect you when you're on campus. This will protect us when you're off campus. If you forward this email to somebody, it protects them. If the link is initially determined that it's good and it's sent out, and then a day or a week later it's determined that it's bad, Microsoft will go back and update this link and then block it.
The very first screen had the safe content or the restricts the content like Social Security numbers.
Okay. So what he's talking about is data loss prevention. So what we have set up are policies within Office 365 that look at your mail, look at your OneDrive, look at SharePoint, look at any documents that you post up into OneDrive. They're looking for Social Security numbers, birthdays, license numbers, any personally identifiable information. It should stop you from being able to put it up there. At a minimum, it's going to notify you that you're trying to put that information up there. To Nick's point earlier, we do not want to put any kind of personally identifiable information up on Office 365. Any of that information should be kept here local on our server. Yes, ma'am.
I've got some absolutely crazy numbers to the phone that when the credit card goes bad, what email is in your credit card? Is that going to block me from being able to see that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we will need to update that process.
Okay.
So data loss prevention. So a couple of things coming down the road. Obviously, it's a big product. There's a lot to it. I couldn't implement everything at this time. That we're going to be implementing multi-factor authentication, which I'm sure a lot of you use with your banks already. When you go to log in, it's going to say, we'll send you a text, you get a code, you put the code in, then it lets you in. That process is a lot like the password recovery process that we do for this initial login. So it looks like if you implement them both at the same time, it looks like you're going through the same process twice. So just to keep the confusion down, we're going to implement that probably at the beginning of next quarter.
There are screenshots if you want for the multi-factor, if you want to use those.
Okay. A couple of other things coming down the road. We use Jabber right now for internal communication. We're going to be getting rid of that and going to Skype for Business, which is the IM client built into this. Again, it's available wherever you are, so you don't have to be on campus to be able to IM somebody. That client will be pushed down to your machines at some point. The OneDrive client will be pushed down to your machines, and then you'll be able to sync data from your machine up to the cloud, so you don't have to worry about just making sure you create the content up there or you push the content up there. You can actually just say, hey, look at my documents folder on my desktop and sync everything in that folder up to my OneDrive. So that's a couple of things that are coming down the road. A couple of known issues that we're having with this transition, and y'all are going to see these because we're doing faculty staff first, and then we're doing students. We want to iron out all the wrinkles in the process before we move on to the students. That's why you'll get to be the guinea pig. So a couple of issues that you'll see on the Outlook client Monday morning when you come in. When you go to open it up, you're going to get an error about a certificate. Just hit yes on that error. It's not going to affect anything. It's going to be there until we make the final transition on July 20th. Nick brought up the incorrect password and how to correct that on the iPhones. Again, if you can just give it a little bit of time, and then hopefully it resolves itself and not just walk through removing and adding it back. And there's one more issue. Oh, mailbox rules. If you have mailbox rules set up that look at old entries, old accounts, people who have left, and you haven't updated your rule, that rule is going to break. If you want to go through your rules today or this week and try to adjust any that you think might be a problem, that would be a good idea. When we get to the transition window of Friday, it's going to, when we go to move everybody, it's going to say there's some accounts that have some issues, their mailbox rules. I'm not going to stop the process for a couple of mailbox rules. So we're gonna break those rules and we're gonna complete the process. So those are the main issues we're having. Are there any questions? Yes, those rules will disappear. Okay. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I wasn't sure what all you were using, so everything you sent, I just threw in the slide deck for you.